The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus set out and went away to the region of Tyre and Sidon. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know he was there. Yet he could not escape notice. But a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile of Syrophoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. Jesus said to her, "Let the little children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." Then he said to her, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." So she went home, found the child lying on the bed, and the demon gone. The Gospel of the Lord. For the last few days, we've been reading about King Solomon, how as a young man, actually 18 years old, when he took over the kingship from King David, he asked for wisdom, and God gave it to him in abundance. So much so that his reputation was worldwide, and the woman from Ethiopia, the Queen of Sheba, came 2,300 miles in order to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and she was astounded. So much so that she blessed the one God of Israel, and then went back home. And King Solomon built a magnificent temple and dedicated it. The Shekinah glory cloud came down and filled the temple. Marvelous. However, even though he had great wisdom and riches and peace from all his enemies, yet that in and of itself did not translate into holiness. For holiness, what's required is perseverance, obedience, humility, prayer, clinging to God. And those he did not do. As he got older, he decided to take matters into his own hands, and he entered into all kinds of alliances with foreign countries, pagan countries, by marrying women from those countries, and they brought with them their pagan practices, and soon Israel was flooded with idolatry. And he allowed it to happen. In today's first reading from 1 Kings chapter 11, it says, "When Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not true to the Lord his God, as was the heart of his father David." This is a lesson for all of us, because God can give us great gifts and be generous, and we can have much in our favor. But we're called to persevere in humility every day in prayer, asking God for greater faith, greater fruit for building up the kingdom, and do so in great humility. In the gospel, we have the contrast to Solomon, where this poor woman, first of all, she's not an Israelite, she's a foreigner, she's pagan, she's considered unclean by the Jews, and she has a daughter that's unclean. But notice what she does that moves the heart of God. She comes to Jesus in great humility and falls down at his feet, and she begs him to heal her daughter. Despite that great plea, Jesus refuses her in the first instance. In fact, one could almost say that he hurled an insult at her, because he said, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." The term dog was a pejorative term used by the Israelites against pagans. But she doesn't take offense. She doesn't feel insulted. In great humility, she takes that little parable of Jesus and she comes back with a clever parable of her own from within the very story that Jesus is telling. She's basically saying, yes, I'm a dog in comparison with the chosen people, yet even the dogs eat the scraps from their master's table. That is a significant point to make, because she really anticipates what God had in mind all along, and that was to have the Jews and the Gentiles together at the same table, eating the same bread. We go back all the way into the Old Testament. We have all kinds of these miracles concerning bread. For example, the manna in Exodus chapter 16, and then Elisha multiplying loaves to feed his men, great miracle of bread. And then in the New Testament, the multiplication of loaves and fish. All of that is pointing to the Last Supper, where Jesus will initiate a sacrament where bread will be multiplied continuously throughout the rest of history. All people will be invited to that table. And here we are tonight. Whoever we are, Jesus is inviting us to his table. Let us approach it with humility, faith, perseverance, and great gratitude. Then share what we have. The grace that we're receiving tonight is meant for others. May we, in humility, consider all people children of God, children who deserve to have a relationship with God. And if we can facilitate that, let us ask the Lord for that grace.